Ah, Christy's here. Hi, Christy. Where's everybody?
Is that Outcast? Who's playing?
There we go. All right, Sage, let's turn down the music and let's turn up the good times.
Full blast.
Full blast. All right. Good evening, everybody. It is a couple of minutes after 5 p.m. Pacific time, and that can only mean one thing. That means it's time for another episode of The Yard. In addition to broadcasting here on Zoom, we are also being seen on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and we welcome everybody who has joined us. The Yard is a production of Commissary Club. Commissary Club is the first social network for the 70 million Americans that have a criminal record. My name is Richard Bronson. I am the founder and CEO of Commissary Club, along with 70 Million Jobs, which is the national employment platform for folks with records.
Sweet.
And this meeting is being recorded. I am joined tonight, as I generally am, with two good friends and also teammates in our business. First, we have former NBA great, the man who played center for the World Championship LA Lakers, along with a young Kobe Bryant. Some say he taught Kobe Bryant the game.
No, nobody says that. Just you. You're the only person that's ever said
Some of the people I know say that, but it's great to have you, Seth. Good evening.
What's up, Richard? Thanks.
And we also have another legend. He is a rapper extraordinaire, and also a prominent entrepreneur. And his name, of course, is the fabulous Divine. D, how are you tonight, sir?
Thanks for having me, brothers. Great to be here again, Rich. What up, Seth?
What up? What up?
Adrian in the background.
Yeah, that was my next intro. We also, of course, have the incredible Adrian Hatter, who sort of runs things behind the scenes and is arguably the brains of the organization. So that's who we are. Before we get started, there are a couple of items that I would like to share with you. Tonight, we had scheduled a great guest, hip hop royalty, Freddie Gibbs. Freddie Gibbs is one of the hottest rappers in the business right now. But he had a conflict that arose, and we believe he'll be joining us next week. He's working on an album, and as you can imagine, his schedule is kind of erratic, but he promises
He didn't make the rec move.
Yeah, but he will be with us.
The rec move you left behind.
Okay, Seth, thank you. I wanted to take a minute and share with everybody. We have so much that's going on at Commissary Club and 70 Million Jobs. And insofar as lots of people are here who care about the space we're in, reentry and criminal justice and, general, I just wanted to share with you the employment business, which was how we started. Um, we were doing incredibly well. I mean, over the course of a couple of years, we were successful in helping thousands of people get jobs, arguably far more than anybody has ever come close to over that period of time. But when the coronavirus hit, of course, all bets were off, and companies laid off wholesale our people. They were working at a variety of different types of jobs, but, warehouses and manufacturing and, restaurant chains and food processing, construction and manufacturing, these were the first jobs to go, and our people were, terminated first. And companies stopped hiring. So we were effectively put out of business had we not chosen to get involved with the other item on our population's wish list. When we first started out, we wanted to make sure that we could bring value to this population of folks with records. And rather than assume we knew the answers, we polled hundreds of people and did all kinds of A/B testing on Facebook to determine where pain points might exist and where we could provide some value. And almost across the board, the responses we got were, A, we need help with employment. Well, that we knew. And B, we need help with community. And that was sort of surprising to us. For those of you who are not, familiar, getting a job when you get out of jail or prison obviously is important. You need money to buy food and pay the rent. But there's a direct correlation between unemployment and recidivism. And if someone doesn't get a job, there almost certainly will be reelected and returned to jail or prison. And they don't just do it once or twice, by the way. On average, it's 4 or 5 times. Contrary-wise, however, if someone does get a job, they almost never, ever get in trouble again. And they live happily ever after. So employment really is the silver bullet, and it's what we have focused on when we first began. But when the coronavirus hit, it had other plans for us, as I mentioned, and we felt like now is the time for us to tackle community. People come out of jail or prison, they need to belong to something. They need a support system. They need, a safety net, people looking after them. And there's precious little of that around. So we began building out what we called Commissary Club. Commissary Club, initially we launched it in beta as a desktop version, and the response was really incredibly gratifying. People were so happy to see this, and we knew that we had to continue that work. 63% of our people don't have access to desktop computers or laptops, so we built out a mobile-only version, and it's now available for iOS as well as Android. Android's just over the last couple of days. So I urge you, depending on what kind of phone you have, to go and check it out and download it and tell us what you think. We will be iterating on it dramatically over the next several weeks and adding all kinds of features, but you'll get the sense of what it is. So we've got that going on. We're launching this, and we're launching it officially in a partnership with Meek Mill and his record label Dream Chasers. Meek Mill, again, is another incredibly popular hip hop star who also happens to be very involved in the criminal justice system. He's had, unfortunately, his own personal experience with the system that has inspired him to be very involved. And what we are doing with him is we will be launching a contest whereby our users will be able to submit lyrics of their own for consideration to be included in a Meek Mill song to appear on an upcoming album. And his record label, Dream Chasers, is also looking to sign artists. Now, another development in our business that we just announced, we will be very shortly on, our platforms will be on several 100,000 tablets in jails and prisons, which is something that we're very, very excited about. Talk about the ultimate captive market. People in prison are desperate for content and for things to do, productively with their time. They will have access to our job board. They'll have access to information about getting a job, creating a resume. They'll have access to the content that we have and will have, as well as events and classes and lots more.
In the yard.
They'll be able to, as I mentioned, get involved with our lyrics contest and upload, a demo so that they can see if they get a record contract, which would be pretty cool.
Richard, I already got my lyrics written out too, so I'm ready to submit them. So I mean, I can even start them right now if you want me to.
You can do it now, or you could wait a little bit. But either way is good. So we have a lot that's going on with our business, but the most exciting thing is that the employment piece is exploding. Everybody reads about how companies can't find people to hire these days for a variety of reasons, but there are millions of jobs that are currently unfilled. And just like companies did prior to the coronavirus, when unemployment was at a historic low, they are contacting us in a way that we have never, ever seen before. Inbound, I've never seen this interest in what we have to offer, because we alone can provide them access to this huge pool of largely ignored talent. 70 million Americans have a record. That's 1 in 3 adults. And they all need help with jobs. And companies need help with finding people to come work for them. The irony is how well these people do on the job. They do surprisingly well. For some, it's counterintuitive. But because they have fewer options, when they come to work, they're appreciative and they make sure they do nothing that's going to jeopardize their situation, which means their retention is much better too. In other words, they're not jumping around leaving companies like most people do. So in any event, that's what's going on with us. We would like to, as I often mention, what the yard is designed to do at its best is to help connect people. Lots of people who have been in prison understand this already, but for those who haven't, we want to humanize, the people who go to prison. They're not monsters. They're just human beings who made some mistakes, often when they were young, and are not much different than you and I are. And that's what we try to do with Commissary Club. We try to connect people, and through that connection, people may serve as role models for one another, inspiration even, can offer advice, and there's precious little of that going on currently. So we see an opportunity to bring great value to this community. And if I haven't made it clear by now, both myself and Seth and Divine, we have all done time. So for us, this is a deeply personal thing we're involved with, and it's also a business. But in any event, what we do on the yard is we try to kind of give you a feeling of what it's like, and to hear directly from people who have been in prison what their experience was. And it's different for everybody, certainly. But we try to simulate the experience of going out on the yard. This place in a prison where, you can hang out with your friends and just sort of make believe that, you're still a human being. So what we try to do is focus the conversation on the in-prison experience, as opposed to, what happens when people are released or what brought them to prison. We want to talk about the time that they're there. And we ask our audience to, A, please do ask questions and make comments and access the chat button on the bottom of the screen, but try to focus on issues or questions that relate to in prison. From time to time, we bring people in from the audience and to join the conversation. So if you have something to say or just want to hang out and chat, message Adrienne through the chat feature again, and she will try to get you involved here. I'm going to ask everybody now, this is an exercise we do every episode of The Yard. So please just sort of trust me and go along with this if you haven't been with us before. First, if everybody would just sort of take a deep breath and hold it in, and then just slowly let it out. That would be great.
Yeah, I needed that.
And everybody, keep your eyes closed and let a little bit of oxygen sort of get to your brain. And I try to paint a picture of how easy it is for a good person to make a bad decision that sometimes can destroy that person's life. I try to portray an event that everybody could relate to, that could happen to almost anybody. And I keep coming back to this particular scenario. You know, now particularly that restaurants and bars are beginning to open up again. We're all excited to get out, socialize a little bit. I mean, I don't know about you, but that means for me, going out, enjoying a good bottle of wine or a bottle or two of wine at dinner. Maybe it means a few drinks at the bar if I get to the restaurant a little early. Normally, I'm a pretty good drinker. If I have food in my stomach, I almost never get too sloppy. But if I haven't eaten recently, sometimes just one or two drinks can get me buzzed. So let's imagine, you know, you're meeting friends for dinner and you get to the restaurant a little bit early. And you go to the bar, you know, to sort of wait until your friends show up. It turns out that they're late. So that one drink maybe becomes two drinks. And then finally they show up and you're seated and wine is ordered. And of course, you're going to have a couple of glasses of wine with your dinner. Now dinner's over and it's time for you to head home. And the truth is you're pretty sloshed at this point. You're not passing out, but still, you're not at your sharpest. Now, this maybe has never been a problem for you before. So when your friends suggest, hey, why don't you take an Uber home? Be safe. You go, nah, I'm okay. And you get in your car and you start driving home. And all is well. Traffic is quiet. Everything's fine. But then you hear a beep on your phone and you realize you just received a text message. And without thinking, you pick up your phone, of course, and you want to see who just texted you. And of course, when you did that, you didn't notice that a couple of neighborhood kids, teenagers, I guess, they happened to be walking along. And just at that moment, they decided they were going to cross the street. And they didn't notice you and you didn't notice them. That is until you've heard and felt a loud thud. And all of a sudden you heard kids screaming. And they were screaming because you just crashed head on into one of these kids. From that point on, things were a blur and you could barely remember it. You do remember that there were sirens and there were flashing lights and people yelling and parents yelling at you. And they pulled you out of your car, the cops did, and they threw you up against the hood of a squad car and they searched you. And then they gave you a sobriety test. You had to blow into it. And then you became aware that there were handcuffs that were being slapped on you. And before you knew it, they were driving you to central booking. Now let's jump ahead a year or two. And let's just imagine it's the morning and you're waking up and you are aware that you're lying in a cot. And in front of you, in front of the cot, there's a door and there's bars on the door. And to the left of you, just 9 or 10 inches away, there's a stainless steel toilet, which is connected to a stainless steel sink. And that's what you've been sleeping next to. And on the other side of you, 9 or 10 inches, you're aware that somebody else is waking up, except this guy is coughing and wheezing, and he's having trouble breathing. And you've been sleeping next to him, breathing the same air. And then it hits you like it does every morning that you wake up, that you're in prison, and that you'll be in prison for another 3 years, and that your life and that of your family's life has been inexorably, horribly changed for the worse. Because on that night, when you had one drink too many, you had killed that 14-year-old girl crossing the street. And now you're in prison. And prison is horrible, and it's unsafe, and it's violent, and the food is terrible, and the medical care is even worse. And the guards treat you like an animal. And at times, it's hard not to feel that, in fact, you are an animal. Except once a day, they let you out onto the prison yard, and it's a big empty field. But there, maybe you can get some fresh air, and maybe you can get an hour's worth of sun. And on the yard, maybe you can toss around a football, or you go to the weight pile where you can work out. But what you normally do, as you're going to do now, you're going to walk a little bit, you're going to find where your friends are. When you show up and you see them, there's an argument going on, which is nothing new. But soon you're going to be laughing together. And then maybe someone's going to share some bad news he just got from home. So there'll be sadness that you're sharing. But these brief moments are more important than anybody could possibly know, because just for this short amount of time, you can actually imagine the time when you hadn't hit that girl and that when you still were a human being. So join me now on the yard. There's a guy I want you to meet who I think you're going to like. His story is pretty amazing. I want everybody to meet Arthur Williams Jr. Art, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Was that yours?
Sorry?
Was that your story that you just told?
No.
Oh, wow.
It was not.
Oh, shit, man. You had me like out right now. I'm like, damn. No, I story was, but I didn't know if maybe you did that at one point, because it sure sounds like you went through it, man. But
actually, I don't want to mention his name, but our first employee, a great guy, was in college. And he was a stupid college kid that one night drank too much, like college kids do. And he got behind the wheel of his SUV at the end of the night, and he's driving along, and he hit somebody. And turned out it was his best friend, ironically. And he ended up killing him.
Oh, gosh.
And he went away to prison for a good long time. But it didn't end when he got out of prison. When he got out and when he was working for us, this was a good man, a nice guy, a moral guy who was so broken and so caught up in the guilt that he felt that he knew he would never leave.
Wow.
And, you go to prison, it's not so clear who the good guys and the bad guys are,
Oh, yeah. Sure.
We've all made mistakes. So Arthur has an amazing story. And I just got to take a minute talking about you if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Many of our guests have gone to prison for drug-related offenses. That's a popular one. Arthur was found guilty of actually a fairly rare crime, as crimes are committed, and his was the crime of counterfeiting. Arthur, you see, was a true artist when it came to counterfeiting. When the U.S. Treasury introduced a brand new $100 bill in 1996, they were much ballyhooed, and they claimed that these bills were so high tech, so carefully made, that they could not be reproduced or counterfeited. That's what they said. And I would imagine for most people that was true, except not for the man that has been nicknamed Artorias.
Artorias, yeah.
Arthur, and we have to talk about this, Arthur was able to counterfeit those bills, lots of them. I read somewhere around $10 million worth of these bills. Unfortunately, Arthur was caught and convicted and spent nearly 7 years in prison for that. According to his own story, when he got out, it was difficult for him to figure out what to do with himself. I could relate to that. I had the same problem. But Arthur was always a stone artist, and it just was waiting to come out. And indeed it did. And now Arthur is a very successful artist who sells paintings for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 and more. And Arthur has his own fancy gallery here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I do.
His story has been told on TV and magazines, and soon in a major motion picture. It's all pretty cool. I mentioned before we want to focus on your in-prison experience,
Yeah.
but we don't get a chance to talk to too many counterfeiters. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, I'm intrigued by it. And I know Seth and Divine are too. Why do you think people are interested in counterfeiting as a crime? Not you, but the public.
Well, it's so funny because my wife mentioned it this morning to me because she was talking to some of her friends about me. And everybody, she says, baby, she goes, every time I mention that you're a counterfeiter, everyone's eyes light up like,
Well, former counterfeiter.
printing money, right? So, I think it's just the fascination that, I was able to print something that someone values so much, like the whole world moves off the dollar, right? And for me, it was just paper. I mean, that's all it was. It was just paper and ink, man, that I manipulated with a little bit of help, what I'm saying? Like, mixing some inks and making some plates. But I think the other thing is I always heard, especially in Beverly Hills, I'm in Beverly Hills, right? So on the corner of Santa Monica and Canada, it's really ridiculous, actually, man. I trip out every time I look at my corner because I remember growing up on the south side of Chicago, hanging out on 32nd and Luthwanica, gangbanging, in the projects. And now I just took over this corner, you know what I'm saying? Like, that just lets you know, like anything can be done in life. But in Beverly Hills, what I'm learning is it's people don't see it as a crime almost, really. It's weird. Like, oh, well, it wasn't violent. And it was artistic, right? Like I've never really heard saying, oh wow, that was so bad you did that, right? Like that's never come across, especially recently, But for me, I think it's the fantasy of it, of wow, people get up every day 9 to 5 in it, working their ass off, and here I was, I figured out how to print it and print it really well at one time,
Yeah.
But
So you were again one of the very few people with a record who was, I guess, taken down by the Secret Service, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, that was a crazy story. When they do the movies, it can be ridiculous. Like I was on the run for 12 days.
Yeah, I read the book, man, while incarcerated.
Yeah, crazy.
I know the story well.
So, and that was only half of it because the
Right,
second
I'm sure.
part, after me and my son went to prison, which I was,
Right.
most people, they kind of trip out on that. But yeah, me and my boy were in prison together. But I think, like I said, man, for me, it was just, even now, I get to print money. I'm in my gallery. I could walk you guys through it a little while, man. I got printing money all over the place. It trips me out. It's like a drug dealer becoming a pharmacist.
Don't spend it.
And that's what it's kind of like,
Yeah.
But what's interesting, about 3 years, I had a show at Arnold Schwarzenegger's house, and I actually met the Treasurer of the United States, man. Like literally, she was the coolest. And what she said to me that night really put everything in perspective because, I've been out of prison almost 7.5 years now. And even though I've reached like unbelievable accolades as an artist, I still don't feel like I'm there yet. I still don't feel like I've reached that moment of what success, right? But one thing I can say, that moment with her made me feel as if I made that turn, right? And what she said to me, and this was like 3 years ago, she said, I knew you were going to be here, and so I came out to see you. So here's the Treasurer of the United States coming out to see me. And she said, when I seen your art and I seen what you did with the money, And then I knew what you did with your life, because before I went to Arnold's, they had to send my file to DC, which was crazy.
What is tell everybody what Arnold's is.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has a charity event once a year called the After School All Stars that I got involved in, and amazing program. You know, they do program kids after school, and just, you know, I fell in love with the program because I used to always think like, man, we growing up in the projects, we didn't have any programs, you know. I mean, we were out on the corner, we were at the broken down basketball rim shooting hoops, you know. There was nothing for us after school. And so when I found out what he was doing, and Arnold Schwarzenegger was like serious about it, like he really took an interest in this thing. It wasn't like a charity that, you know, you gave money to and then somehow it went to the top execs, you know, like these kids were really getting unbelievable programs. I went down to the schools in Miami. I actually spoke at one of the schools. And it was just like, I knew in the early stages of my art career that, you know, because I get a lot of kids, I get a lot of young people who reach out to me on social media telling me that I inspire them. And I used to always think that was bullshit, right? You know, like, let's be like Mike, you know, I want to be like Mike with the whole, you know, Wheaties commercials and shit. Like, I never really looked at people as role models, you know? And so I always had kind of a, you know, somewhat of a negative thinking towards, you know, being able to change people by the way you live. Well, that's changed. I know you can. I know people do pay attention. I see it in my life, you know, now, and now I take it real serious.
All right, let's get to that later.
Yeah.
Let's sort of build up to what you're doing now and what's important to you.
Wait, I want to hear that. I want to hear what the Treasury Secretary said.
Oh, what she had to say? She just told me. She said, you know, she said, I wanted to come here and I see what you're doing, and it's beautiful what you've done with the money. It's beautiful how you've changed your life, and we just want you to know that we're really proud of you of how you've turned it around. I mean, that's come from the Treasury of the United States, man. You know, like that was a hell of a
It's
moment.
no better, man.
Did she offer you a job and say, hey, you know, you can hit the next one for real?
No, but I did ask her to sign a bill for me, so I pulled out a 20 and she signed it, man. It was the coolest moment
You
ever.
should have had $100 bill on you.
And I did it, dog. I was looking everywhere and I only had a 20. I was like, fuck, I swear.
Right.
Like, Arnold, can I borrow 100 real quick?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's talk about you going to prison.
Yeah.
So you got popped. Were you immediately sent off to prison?
No.
Or were you out for a while or what?
Yeah, it was a real strange situation. So when me and my son got into it, I was actually.
How old was your son?
My son at that time was 15. I had him for 3 years. His mother was a Chicago police officer.
Wow.
And I had been down to prison once before for this in the feds, but I only did like 2.5 years. It was a short sentence. It was with my father. So it's kind of weird. The first time I got locked up was when my dad kind of slapped me on my hand. The second time I went down, they hit me in the head a little bit. And then when my son turned 18, unbeknownst to me, he was printing money, you know, but bullshit, right? And they grabbed him and they sent him to me, which I'm thankful they did because me and him became friends. But up until that point when I had him, you know, I was really trying to make it straight the first time. I worked at a boatyard for my uncle for a little while. And it was always the same thing, $12 an hour jobs, $15 an hour jobs, you know, and trying to figure out, okay, do I pay this or that? And just, you know, when you've been a criminal your whole life, I mean, I've been a criminal since I was 12 years old. I broke into meters, man. That was my first crime. So, you know, for me, it was survival. Like, that's how I looked at crime. It wasn't about, you know, wanting a watch or a badass car or nothing. It was just about eating, you know. And so when I had this kid of mine that I'm trying to take care of, this teenager, you know, it got to the point where I just didn't know what to do, you know. And at that time, I was dealing with some Hollywood stuff. They were talking about making a book about me, and Rolling Stone came out. So I had this was before social media. So I was getting a little bit of celebrity. It's like the criminal celebrity going on in Chicago. And, you know, I had my hope in something that didn't happen, and it led me to go back to the streets. You know, I wanted to print money again, but I knew that the feds had me locked on the 100. So I made the decision to try to break the euro. So I went on this whole new quest, man, that I was going to crush the euro. I had this big old scheme and I was going to print that shit in Canada, ship it over to fucking, I mean, I was on some crazy madness shit. This is going to be the big one. This was going to be the sting of the century, And what do you know, man, when I come back from out of town, which was bizarre because I just had come back from Rochester, New York, speaking at a federal conference on counterfeiting, right? Who the fuck does that, right? They fly me into Rochester to speak at a conference, document security systems, and I get there and it's 1,200 federal agents I'm talking to. And then I fly back home and I'm sitting there trying to print money. I mean, I was living a real mad life,
All right. So you got arrested. Where the second time now, the big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did you go down? Where were you first sent?
The first time was in Alaska. It was a crazy situation. My pops, he went down a little bit longer than me. He actually died on the day I got out, the very day that I went out of prison. He had a heart attack in Sheridan, Oregon, in the federal prison there.
Yeah, I read that, man.
Yeah, it was a tough one, man. You're like, that's like, how the fuck could that happen? Here you are packing up to go free. You're happy. Everyone knows how it feels the day you're getting released, And man, I'm the same way. I'm not excited, and my sister was there and she was all happy. And then she got a call from Alaska from my other sister. And they were like, I seen the look on my sister's face change immediately, like she just started crying. I'm like, what's going on, man? I'm free, like I'm here. What the fuck, And she said, oh, man, Dad just died. Yeah.
All right. So when you went away, your son was 15. You were close to him, right?
Yeah, real close. That was my boy, man.
What was it? So what was it like when you were going away? You had been in prison already, so you sort of knew the lay of the land. But at this point, you were a loving father. You're in there. How was that dealing with being separated from him?
God, it was tough, man. I mean, and what made it even worse was somewhat my, rowdiness. I ended up in the hole for 9 months, like right from jump.
Explain what the hole is to everybody.
Hole is a box like your bathroom. You go in and you don't come out and you eat through a slot. You shit there, you take a shower there, you come out of your room for a half hour in another little box. It's just, it's torture. The fact they even do that still in this world is just beyond me, You don't see nobody. You're yelling and screaming to the neighbor, to have any sort of social communication. And that's where I found myself, though. The hole was what made me who I am today because, I started reading, the intern library, you fill out the little slip, send it out, they send you a book, and I just started reading biographies, man. I started with the presidents because that's who I knew, Ben Franklin, Abe Lincoln, all them cats. But shit, man, within the 9 months, man, I read like 60 biographies. I was eating them up, man. And then I came across The Agony and Ecstasy by Michelangelo. And I just fell in love with the Renaissance, art, painting. I felt like I was there at one time. And, so finally, when I got sentenced, I got sentenced to 105 months. And I went to Manchester, Kentucky. And that's where I started, just kind of sketching old money. I love ink and pencil.
Before we get to that,
this
is great stuff. I just want to make sure we hit everything here. You had been to prison before, so you kind of knew the lay of the land. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes when I went to prison, it was my first time, so it was all new to me. The prison you went to, what kind of place was it? First of all, it was a federal prison, correct?
Yeah, federal, medium high, Manchester, Kentucky.
Medium high. Okay, so that's a serious adult prison that you were in.
I think 80% of people there had life sentences.
Right, and when you have a life sentence, you got nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. It was very dangerous.
Very dangerous. So, were you nervous about first showing up there?
Oh man, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the projects, man. I've been shot twice. I've been hit by a car. I've been stabbed. I've been in gang riots. I mean, like prison just felt like kind of a break from the streets, to be honest with you, man. You know, I haven't ever really felt too much fear in life, you know. Even now I'm out in LA acting like an animal, you know what I'm saying? Like I just go, you know. But say this, the medium high was a different place in the sense of the air that you were around. Like my first time I was at Waseca, Minnesota, which was a low, right? People are going home, coming and going. When you get to a medium high, damn near like a USP, right? People ain't going home. You don't want to tell people, you know, I'm telling people, I wouldn't even tell people I'm in there for 7 years. Like how much time you got? I don't talk about it because, you know, you're talking to a guy. I walked a track with the dude that had 2 life sentences. And now I'm going to be going home in like 6 years. Like that's shit to them, man, you know? So for me, going to the Manchester.
Did they treat you that way?
No, because I didn't let nobody know, man. I kept my sentence private, man. I didn't really talk to too many people about it. Fortunately for me, the feds, as you know, people from all over the country could be at one prison. So I have because I kept my mouth shut on you know, I went down and say nothing, did my time. I didn't have no 501k, whatever that bullshit is. You know what I'm saying?
For the benefit of people listening, for lots and lots of people who are arrested have the opportunity to snitch on somebody else.
Yeah.
And they, like, for example, when I was arrested, I had a partner and they went to him first and they said, if you help us bring cases against other people, you won't have to see any prison time. You'll still have a felony, but you don't have to go away. And he chose to do that. And he ended up wearing a wire and he brought down a lot of people. They asked me that and I said, fuck that. I mean, I already feel plenty guilty about what I did. That's something I'll never, ever forgive myself for. But if you do provide, you know, substantial help to the government that they can bring cases, they have put in your file a 501c, whatever it's called.
Well, 501c, whatever, yeah, fuck,
CK,
whatever.
Right, and the judge will use that when they're determining your sentence. So it's good in that, you know, maybe you're going to get out sooner or have lesser sentence. It's bad, definitely, if you're at a place where you were a medium high with some bad guys there who would not take kindly to being around a guy who was snitching other people, right?
Not at all, especially a place like that. They want to see paperwork, you know? And I mean, hell, one of my cellies, well, at first when we got to the prison, the first floor cells were 3 people in a cell, which was disgusting, you know? 2 on a bunk, 1 on the floor in this tiny box, man. It's just bizarre. And you had to fight to get upstairs where the 2 cells were at, you know? And I finally got upstairs to the 2 cell, and the Serenos came in on my cellie. It was crazy, man. The door popped
Who are the
open.
Serenos?
Southern gang, street gang, you know, family in prison. You got Serenos, Norteños, you know, you got all these different gangs in prison from different areas. Those were like Southern California cats. And I was always cool with them all, you know, but my cellie wasn't. And he got into a jam and they came in, man, they dragged him out the bed and they wore him out. I'm talking about damn near killed him. I just stayed on the top bunk, man, like, you know, whatever. They looked at me, this ain't a part of you. I said, man, it ain't. And they just, I mean, they destroyed this dude. I watched, hear him screaming, man, blood everywhere. I ended up getting the bottom bunk after that. You know,
tough way to get a bottom.
Or some good came out of it.
But bottom bunks are big in there, man. That's serious real estate. But you know, Manchester was hard, man. But you know, I had a good name from the streets of Chicago. Some of the old gangsters were there that knew me. I grew up around all the old outfit dudes, Jerry Scalise, the Messino. I mean, these were people that taught me a lot of good morals. You know, a lot of these mob movies are full of shit.
Wait. We got to repeat that.
Yeah.
You're talking about mob guys.
Yeah.
And you then said they taught you good morals.
Oh, hell yeah, they did, man.
What did they teach you in the way of good morals?
The ones I grew up with, man, was be loyal, look a man in the eye, do what you say. If you shake the hand, you know, those movies are full of shit, man. Jerry Scalise robbed the Marble Diamond, one of the smartest men I've ever knew. He was polite, he was kind, he helped a lot of people. But listen, you cross them, you had a problem, right? That was the issue, right? And so, yeah, there's bad in everything. And I'm sure, in New York, maybe they're different than in Chicago. I don't know. I know the Chicago guys are a little bit more, they're not flashy. They're a little bit more family orientated. I had good mentors, man, whether it was them or for a little while I was around the Irish cats, Mr. Underwood, another great dude, man. And even around the Jewish cats, man, I had Jewish gangsters that, man, taught me a lot of shit, man. So I was like one of the last young cats in Chicago that was like, hanging around some of the old, real dudes, and I took it in, man. And I still live the same way. If you shake my hand and I tell you something, that's going to happen. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need shit. It's going to happen. It's just the way I am. And so, the streets, the streets taught me, man, yeah, there's your scumbags that'll fucking roll on everyone. But guess what? I know a lot of good cats that won't, man. I know a lot of good dudes that if, you do the crime, you do the time type shit, man, and that was me, so I went, yeah, go ahead.
Let me cut you off. I want to ask you, like, do you feel that prison played a role in your rehabilitation as far as you finally deciding like to get your life on track and get it in order? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in
what way? In what way do you feel
as funny as this may seem, they got that little drug program that you take at the end of your, to get a little time.
I took it. Yeah, I took that.
Man, everyone that I know that took that course, because I follow them on Facebook, about 70% of them are still out. Yeah. I remember when I was taking that drug class, I was like, oh, this is full of shit. This is bullshit. And I just need to get my gear off. But damn, after I got done with that class, like I really did know a little bit more about myself, man. I did know a little bit more about what was making me tick, what was making me go back to the streets, what was making me so angry, so
psychological piece.
Yeah, it was a psychological thing for me, man, of just saying, okay, fuck this. I'm done with this. Do this no more.
So real quick, that's a segue into my next question. So I took the same drug class and I had to address the issue of not having a father in my life. He was never in my life. I knew who he was. And I never knew how emotional I was about that, everything I held in until they start asking these fucking questions.
Yeah.
You start getting your fucking mind and your emotions and you and you break down. And I broke down.
Yeah.
And I never realized that. So I know about your father passing away right when you were getting out. I read your book, of course.
Yeah.
How did your father's involvement in your life and non-involvement in your life play a role in you going down the path you went down?
Man, well, the first thing is he left us when I was 11 years old, 10 years old, left a single mom who had bipolar, with nothing. We ended up homeless for 3 months. Then we ended up in the project. So I had a lot of hate and anger towards him. Like, how could you leave us, man? Like, what did we do so bad to you to where you could just leave us with nothing? But I had a good mama, man, strong praying mama, took us to church every Sunday, and I still go to church, right? Like I mean, it's crazy the things that my mom put into me when I was a child that I just kind of dismissed. Now I live by, right? So I had a great mom, but as far as my father, man, when I did find him 22 years later in Alaska, out of all places, and I was on the run, I was actually on the run.
I remember from the book, yeah.
I was hoping my father would tell me, okay, man, let's get it together, calm down. What did my dad do? He took me out to the woods, opened up a fucking hidden chamber in the woods.
Let's make money.
Yeah, and here's he doing fucking his own thing, It was like, damn, I'm on the run, come to Alaska to try to get away from this shit. And my pops is right here, and me and my pops had a falling out. He was doing some things with some Hell's Angels up there in Alaska.
Right.
And he was trying to get me tied up with that stuff, and I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. And that's when I took off, and then I got popped in Texas, because I just felt like I didn't feel like he was looking at me as a son, which even hurt more. Right. Because when people hear you print money, whether it's family, friends, enemies, whatever,
they want you to print
money. They want you to print. They want you to print. I guys probably twice a day, man. You still got some of that shit stacked. So, with my dad leaving and finding him, and then here he is still pushing me into the same world that I was trying to get away from.
Right.
Like, it fucked me up bad, man. And then when I went back to prison and now here I got my son with me, damn.
I know.
I'm 18
Honestly, when I read the book and that part really hit me emotionally, I felt like the pain about your father passing away, that whole scenario, man. Your book was that impactful, man.
Yeah, man. It was just, but you know what? Here's the thing. This is what I learned. Like right now, I'm a great father, right? I have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old, Da Vinci and Love, and I'm a good father, man. And I'm very aware of being a good father. And so I don't believe that the past makes us who. I don't believe the past can make the future for us. We could learn from it, right? Which can help us better the future, but we're not stuck in our past, man. And that's what used to happen to me. I was stuck in my anger. I was stuck in my guilt. I was stuck in my prisoner mentality. I was stuck in my project mentality, my gangbanger mentality, all these mentalities I was stuck in. The past was holding on to me. That program in prison actually cut all that shit. It cut it off.
Yeah.
It broke through. And as much as I want to talk about it, it worked for me, So
it worked for you, yeah. Let me just quickly reset the room here for anybody who just is joining us. We're talking Arthur Williams Jr., the world famous counterfeiter and now world famous artist, fine artist. And if you haven't seen his stuff, I don't know if Adrian has put up a link to his site, but I'm sure she will shortly. Check it out. I mean, the guy is an artist. There's no doubt about it. Seth, you had a question?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to continue what we were talking about real quick. So you guys talk about RDAP. I didn't get into it because they said I didn't have a problem or whatever, and I'm like,
yeah.
That's bullshit. I represented myself in court, so I had a stupid attorney, and I didn't say
They should have knew you had a problem when you told them that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, man, who would do that? Someone's got a problem if you're doing that.
Not too many people do that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I gotta take my hat off that one, man.
But so
Welcome to my world, Arthur.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
So the RDAP piece, it sounds like was a we talk a lot on the yard about the spark, right? There's people that change their lives doing cool shit like you're doing, you know what I mean? Like, and there was kind of a triggering point, and I heard 2 of them, and I'm not sure if there's one that you just go, yeah, this was the point that I knew I was going to turn. RDAP, and then reading the biographies when you were down in the shoe, right? What was there something that was just like, boom, I knew from this point, like it was.
The kicker really was the judge who sentenced me. Was the real first,
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it was heavy what he told me. It was just a heavy moment. I'm about to get sentenced. The prosecutors jamming me because I had an open plea. They didn't give me a plea deal. Right, so I didn't. Right. I just open plea, guilty. Fuck it, let it run. I knew what my category was, but man, it was bad, man. I was looking at, I think 48 to 56. It was like in the 40, 50, 60 range that I was looking at. Shit. And they were trying to give me 15 years, man. They were trying to hit me with
that's years, right?
Yeah, years. Yeah, they were trying to crack my head off. And
down to that white meat.
Yeah, they were really trying to get me. And then my lawyer is sitting there saying, don't say nothing, don't say nothing, don't say nothing. And when the judge said, man, you got something to say, Mr. Williams? I said, oh, hell yeah. He said, well, why don't you step to the middle, man? And I did, man. I let him know, man. Like, I grew up 10 blocks away from this courthouse in the projects with a single mom. I'm not out here hurting people. I regret what I've done, man, but I'm a survivor, Your Honor. I'm not here because I was trying to hurt a person. I'm here because I was just trying to eat, man. And I know that might be hard for everyone in this courtroom to understand. Right. But when you're a little 12-year-old boy breaking into meters so you could take groceries home to your mama, and then that's what your life becomes for the next, 20 years. Yeah. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't know how to make it, man. I have no one showed me. It's been just me out here like a lone wolf, man, trying to figure it out. Wow. And then the judge hit me with some shit. He said, man, I've been hearing you're the best in the world, that you're the best at this. He said, I've yet to see one of these bills, man. And he said, I would like to see one of the bills. And so the prosecutor went up there, man. They gave
the evidence?
Yeah, the evidence, right? So the judge is
holding to buy around.
Yeah,
right, drinks for everybody.
Yeah, the judge is holding the 100. He's looking at it, and he's like, yeah, you would have fooled me, Mr. Williams. He said, how long is it taking you to get this good? I said, well, man, I'm always getting better at it. I said, but it's been about 15 years now, right? And he said, what do you think you could have done in 15 years, man, if you put that energy to the right thing?
Wow.
And damn, that shit hit me hard, man.
You couldn't even think
You know?
of anything.
Yeah. He said, I promise you, Mr. Williams, you could be the best at whatever you put your mind to.
Wow.
And man, that's when it all started, man, right there, man.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just doing an interview because I've been out of prison 7.5 years and I did 7 years. And so that's 14.5 years, man. And now
Right.
I'm sitting in Beverly Hills in my own gallery. And that's what I could do with 15 years,
He's
Judge.
right.
You know?
You
So-
said it, baby.
Yeah.
You
So
said
really the judge, man, the judge really took an interest in my case. And, you know, I wish all those who stood in front of a judge could have one that was as good as mine. You know, I'm not here trying to blame the system for what I ended up in. You know, it is what it is, man. The cards were dealt to me. I played them. But I would like to see more judges like that, right? I would like to see more caring for people, man, you know,
Right.
because, you know, and that judge, he cared, man, you know, and he had and the one day I want to go see him, you know, one day I want to go back, man, and I want to give him the book I wrote. You know, I wrote a book in prison, man. I got this gallery, you know. Here, I'll show you. Here it is. I gotta get this thing out. But I wrote this book, man. 700 pages, man. Crazy,
Wow.
insane, man. I painted, I've invented, I've done all kinds of things. And I want to show that judge, man, that his words can't. Remember, I started this thing. We can inspire people. It's real. We really can inspire people.
You owe it to him to at least send him a letter.
That's a good one, man. That's a good.
For
That's
sure.
yeah.
Let me ask you a question. This is like really intriguing. to
Yeah,
me.
this is amazing.
I mean, you kind of like talk about this quickly, but you talk about your father who was involved with counterfeiting. And you also talk about your son who's also involved. So you talk about like 3 generations here.
Yeah.
So question to you is all of your involvement in this stuff, was it all, and you know, I'm sure you've given this a lot of thought. And when you're in prison, you have plenty of time to think about this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you've thought about like, how did it come to be that 3 generations of Williams men ended up taking the path that you did? Now, was it solely a function of, you know, where you were socioeconomically? Is there a gene in you, a counterfeiter gene?
But
Maybe?
see, that's what I think. I think it's DNA, man.
It's
Because
a DNA.
even my little son Da Vinci, my 4-year-old, man, already said, "Dad, I think I can make this." I'm like, "Make what?" And he pulled out a $1 bill on me, man. I said, "Whoa. Get that shit out of your mind, man." You know what I'm saying?
He's starting young, goddammit. No.
My little Da Vinci said he can make money, man. I said, "Oh shit, here we go with this one, man." No, you know, I don't know, man, because I really did think that like the criminal element is, and I don't want to say criminal element. I think the gene that we will survive, right? Maybe that's what it is. You know, I'm sorry about that. The gene that we will survive, right? That's kind of how, I mean, I think since the beginning of time, man, humans have had that gene to survive. We're just in a different jungle. That's all.
And I think survival brings out innovation, right? Brings
No,
out
most
you
definitely.
thinking of how can I solve this problem?
Well, look at cats in prison, man. They're making pots
Exactly.
with freaking stingers, and they're making
grilled cheeses with iron.
Yeah, they're distilling liquor through their vents and shit. You know, like prisoners are the most innovative motherfuckers ever, man.
Fishing notes through the toilet.
Yeah, man, crazy shit, man. Like
Thomas Edison did a lot of time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, they should do an invention course in prison, man. No telling what motherfuckers would be building spaceships. That's probably why they don't do it, man. But I just think that it's just that element, man, of innovation, like Divine said. That survival gene causes you to create something out of nothing. Yeah, right. That's what we do, right?
That's pretty cool. So let me ask you this: you were in prison once, you were in prison again, almost 7 years, and people you know, you paint the picture of a tough place, a dangerous place, a violent place, which it is and which it was. But what people often, in my experience, find hard to imagine is that at times it's also a very funny place.
Oh yeah.
And there's and there are characters and, you know, I mean, did you experience that too?
Oh hell yeah,
You
man.
do a lot of laughing in prison.
A lot of laughing. Yeah, I still laugh. One of my boys, Jason Peterson, he was a Hell's Angel. I walked the yard with that cat for 2.5 years. Shit, we laughed so much, man. He lives in San Fran. I actually go up there now and then just to visit him. He's doing good now. But man, I've met some real characters, man, and had a lot of fun. I've laughed so hard in prison, even with my son. Me and my son were together for 2.5 years. We were cellies. We used to wrestle and play, and like he became my best friend, man. You know, it broke my heart that he was there for me with me, but in the end, at the end of the day, man, you know, I got him into things, man. They had like some underground boxing going on, so I got him in that shit. I had him learn how to play the piano, so now he knows, you know, he learned how to play an instrument, you know. So he's seen me every day, very disciplined. So I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I'd write on my book for 2 hours, go to breakfast, come back, do my little job, go out, go eat lunch, and go to the yard, work out, and then at night I'd paint. I did this every single day. And my son seen it, and it was a good example to him. And then he started doing it. He started working out. He started going and doing his music. He started finding his thing that kept him out of the TV room, right? Like my biggest thing with him was like, listen, son, don't waste your time, right? Even though we're in prison, you still have a mind and you can still think and you can still grow, but you have to put the work in. And you got a fence around you that's going to allow you to have no distractions. And see, that's why I think, and he listened to me. And that was my success, man, is, you know, out here where it used to take, you know, when I first started painting, man, you know, what takes me, you know, a month here, I could do in a week there, right? You know, prison actually allowed me to grow, you know, it allowed me to learn. It with no women, with no drugs, because I wasn't into the prison drug shit, you know. I was very disciplined. And what's so interesting, man, is just recently, I had a situation out here in LA where I was getting ready for an event. I sleep for like 30 hours, and I kind of went into like this real bad place. And when I woke up the next day, I said, you know what? I'm going back to the prison days, man. And guess what happened? Now I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I'm doing the exact same freaking routine that I did in prison. And guess what? It's working.
Works, yeah.
Fucking working, man.
Yeah.
So I think what happens to a lot of guys who get out of jail is they lose their discipline.
Get distracted.
They get distracted, man.
The world's
and
good
if we
that.
can find a way, if you guys can find a way to help guys get, that's why I loved when I seen, because I get requests all the time. And when I seen Divine email me and I went and seen what you guys did, man, that shit moved me, man, to immediate say, hey, I'm in, whatever you guys need of me.
And that's
I'm
what
here.
Commissary Club's all about.
Yeah, man, I really dig what you cats are doing, man. And I'm going to start blasting your stuff every Thursday for you. And I want people to know that are getting out of prison that there's people who care for you, man.
Yeah.
And there's people who, yeah, go ahead.
You're 100%. Thank you for saying all this. I'm sort of embarrassed whenever I hear something nice about us.
Well, you're doing a good thing, bro. And I appreciate that. Man.
So are you. So are you. As an example, and all the other stuff you do. I want everybody to know we are just starting on a project with Arthur. We are going to be creating NFTs. And for those of you out there who are familiar with what an NFT is, it's essentially a digital collectible, you know, frequently a piece of art. And there's this huge market that has developed around it. And, you know, everybody has heard about the $69 million painting that was digitized and sold as an NFT. You know, we think Arthur's stuff is, you know, will be highly in demand. So we're very, very excited about that. Let me see. We got a couple of questions here that I just wanted to address. It's really nice, and I know Seth and Divine feel this way too, but I just have to say, if I don't say it enough or if I don't say it ever, you know, there are certain people who show up, who are not show up, who are here and join us, you know, every week. And some of them have been guests, and some of them we've never heard from, other than the fact that they're there. We are all aware that you're there. And we're really deeply appreciative that you support this and that you keep us company here. And, you know, what we're doing has grown dramatically. 11 million people in our community right now.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, you know, internationally, I mean, nationally, and now we're in Canada, and we're coming out with a Spanish version. And we got all this stuff that's going on. You know,
They gonna translate your English into Spanish? Is that what they gonna do?
Hold
Yeah,
on.
I do that on my TV.
Muy bien.
Hey, I changed it to
I'm
Chinese.
translating it. I'm the one
Hey,
translating. It's gonna
Oh,
be
you
great.
don't want translating it, really? Now they got these smart TVs, man. You can put it on Chinese, English,
Yeah.
Arabic. I do it just to mess around sometimes, just to hear the shit, man.
Learn a
You know?
new language right
Yeah,
there.
my son
Oh.
be like, Dad, why are we listening to this? I'm like, just listen, man. You know?
all right. So
I love
among
it.
our guests who I've been, you know, raving about, there's someone called Pied Piper.
Pied Piper.
Now, I'm operating on the assumption that that's not a real name, although if it is, my God, my heart goes out to you that you've had that for your whole life. But nonetheless, Pied Piper mentions, and I quote, "Author is the man. Met him in Chicago about a year ago. In the past year, he's really changed the game. Best of luck to him."
Man, thank you much. Thank
Pied
you much.
Piper sends great regards to you. From Jane Jones, who is one of our frequent visitors. It's great to hear authors say such wonderful and true things about, oh, you, meaning me, Divine and Seth. Well, it's true about me. I'm not so sure about Divine and Seth, but it's definitely true about me. But thank you, Jane. You know, we've been very, very lucky because we all feel honored, frankly, to have the opportunity to work with the community that we do. We meet so many men and women, you know, that have just gone, their whole life has been hell, and yet they still have in their heart a belief in, you know, I don't know if it's God or their fellow human being or America or whatever it is, but that just keeps them coming back. And it's inspirational to us. And I'm humbled personally. You know, some of these people are heroic. So I feel lucky. Some of our best fans, if you want to name folks. Adrian is suggesting, yeah, I mean, you know, we start with our buddy Craig, who was a guest, I guess, last week. Craig, author for pot, and he wasn't even dealing pot. He was just sort of mixed up in something. He got a life sentence for that, behind that shit, and he got pardoned by Trump. And certainly the only good thing that Trump has ever done. But I'm glad that he did that. Yeah. And, you know, Pinky is here all the time. And Tim, and just I'm going to leave out people, and that will make me a bad guy. But, and then we have loads of people. Who? Seth?
I just said shout out to the whole Commissary fam for sure.
Yeah. You guys have been great. So what would you tell, you know, there are amazing artists in prison and jails, and some of them are doing tattoos, some of them are doing graffiti art, and some of them are doing fine art, and some, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that they're doing, all different media, and vast talent that's in there. You're now on the outside. What should they be thinking? What should they be doing now while they have the time? Is there anything they can do that would be productive?
Oh, there's a lot they could do, you know, even artists that are out, you know, I talk to all the time about, because people are always asking me. I've only been a professional artist for 4 years. I've been out of prison for 7.5. There's artists who went to school and publishers, galleries for 30 years who haven't had the success I've had. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with they put it in other people's hands. What I've learned in my journey is I build my gallery on my own. I've managed myself. I don't have an art publisher. I've learned how to sell my art.
But the guy who's in prison, what should he be or she be doing?
Well, I mean, the first thing is to hone in on their craft, right? What are they good at? What is their passion? Whether they're drawing horses or flowers, or become the best at it. Like really learn it, study it. Just don't draw it and think that it's good. I mean, go look at other artists. I started studying other artists right away to see what they did. Started studying different artists' methods of selling their art. So the first thing I would say is just find the medium that you're really good at, and then get better at it, right? And then as you do that, attach a story to it. All the great artists in the world had an amazing story, right? And you have to know how to tell that story. And the way that I tell that story is through my art. Now, yeah, I'm a counterfeiter, right? So I'm allowed to use the money to do that. But there might be an artist in prison with mental illness with his family, and he paints things that kind of represent that. So you have to attach the art to a story. It's essential you do that. If somebody asks why you painted this, you need to have a powerful, impactful reason of why you did it, because then you lure them in. Once you lure them in, then you could open up about yourself a little bit, so there's a science to it, and then, the biggest thing for a guy getting out is you got to keep a job. I worked 4 jobs when I got out. I would work all day long. I delivered liquor, man, from 3 a.m. till like 5 p.m, and then I'd go in my basement and I'd paint, right? I did that shit every freaking day for years, man. I never expected it to happen overnight. Matter of fact, a couple times I stopped because I just figured it wasn't going to happen. But then I got back up on that horse, man. And so for a guy getting out of prison, or an artist, whether it's a musician, a painter, whatever, or whatever he wants to do, what kept me free was, first, I kept getting that paycheck every week. As much as I hated my job, as much as I hated getting up, I kept doing it. And I never let go of my dream. I never let go of it.
All right, tell us about some of the stuff you mentioned. Arnold's Kids, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's important to you. You're doing other stuff though now that you're out as well, right?
Yeah, I've done some stuff with Common Ground. I'm actually trying to set up a scholarship for a top artist coming out of Common Ground for a year's salary for them.
What is Common Ground?
It's a Common Ground Foundation. Common, the rapper, he does programs for school kids getting ready to go into college. So I only work with 2 charities: the After School All Stars and Common Ground Foundation. The After School All Stars, they help kids after school. Common Ground helps kids go into college. So those 2 things I've attached myself and I'm passionate about. So again, back to the question, the guy in prison, what does he do? Get good at what you do. Attach a story to it. When you get out, don't give up. Keep a job. You got to keep a job, right? So you have to have, you mentioned one of the old gangsters taught me, Art, you have to have staying power for whatever you're doing. Because if you don't have staying power, you'll become panicky and then you'll make the wrong move, right? And so it's the same thing in everything, right? So I worked my ass off for 3 years as I did little shows, as I met people. And then, I think the other thing for an artist is you got to travel, right? I think that's going to be probably the hardest thing for an artist getting out of prison. Was one of mine. Is an artist is just like a musician. You got to go to the shows. You got to go here. I traveled 187,000 miles my first years as a professional artist. I drove all across the country. You got to put it in, man. Even though I got the great story and I got badass art and I even look good, you know what I'm saying? Like I got the whole package, baby. I still got to work my ass off, man. Nothing comes for free. And I think a lot of times in prison, you always hear guys talking about the get rich quick scheme. I'm gonna be a broker when I get out. I'm gonna get into real estate when I get out. You rarely hear guys in prison saying, hey man, I'm gonna be a carpenter when I get out. I'm gonna be a plumber when I get out. Or every dude you talk to, man, is either gonna be a book writer, a stockbroker, a real estate dude, right? You know, like let's start a little lower, man. Those could be your dreams, but let's start get realistic. Hey man, I'm just gonna get my ass a job. How about that, right? I was cleaning toilets, man, for 9 months. I love that shit. I was the best toilet bowl cleaner on the motherfucking planet, man. You know? And then I kept doing my dream though. I kept
pursuing your art.
Huh?
That was your art.
Yeah, that was my art, cleaning toilet bowl.
All right, so quick question. I have 2 quick questions. And then D and Seth, if you got like part.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Number 1 quick question.
Yeah.
What would people be surprised about the life of a counterfeiter?
Surprised? The loneliness, maybe.
Hmm.
You're alone a lot, like I am now, you know. I probably 70% of my time alone right now, you know. As a counterfeiter, you become very lonely because you can't tell nobody what you're doing, right? I mean, I had certain people that knew, but shit, man, a lot of motherfuckers had no clue, right? And a lonely world, man. It's, you know, even now as an artist, you know, I have my moments where I miss home. You know, I have moments where I miss my camaraderie with my people in Chicago. I love my city, man, you know, and I'm in an unknown land right now, LA, you know, but I beautiful people out here too, man. I've been really blessed with that. But
Yeah, the weather's better.
But I think, and even just the fact that everyone thinks, oh, you printed money, man, you must have millions buried. You know, like that, man. You know, I got a little bit buried still, you know.
You're saving the Commissary Club community.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, the other one was being an artist, what would surprise people, but I think you answered that. It's the same thing. It's the loneliness, huh? Loneliness, man. And you have to, that's why Van Gogh cut his ear off, that son bitch. You know, he probably just couldn't take the loneliness. A lot of artists go crazy. And shit, I just for the first time experienced it last week. I went through some really tough shit in this past 2 weeks, man. And I'm getting through it though, right? I'm overcoming it. Even today was kind of a heavy day for me, you know, but you know, I just keep getting up and moving. And it's always
I read your post, man. I read your post. I like how you bounce back.
Yeah, you got to, man, you know, and you got to reflect, you got to adjust.
It's your choice.
Yeah, it's a choice, you know, so, you know.
Seth, you got anything closing?
Yeah, man, I'm fascinated by the family dynamic that you know is involved in all this. And you know, I have a 14-year-old daughter, right? And I'd love to spend, you know, all the time in the world with, you know, just her and I, and you know, getting to you know, impart wisdom into her and all these things, right? And did you do your whole bid at Manchester? Or did you bounce around? How much time did you actually get to spend with your son and while you're done?
So it was interesting. So because I had, you know, 105, I did like 2.5 at Manchester. Then there was a in Big Springs and they needed white people. So they snatched me and sent me down to Texas, and that was a hellhole. Yeah. And I got really sick there. It was in 2009 when that SARS shit was hitting. Remember SARS? No one really talked about it.
That was crazy.
Yeah, well, it hit our prison, man. They locked it down. You can even look it up, man. They termed it chlamydic pneumonia, man. People were just falling everywhere, man. And I'm watching guys throwing up blood and shit. You know, I didn't get sick till like the very end of it, man. I was snorting mouthwash. You know what I'm saying? I still do sometimes, actually, you know. But no, I'm a wild man, dude. You know, people be coughing. I'd be in the bathroom snorting mouthwash to disinfect my nose, man. I was far out, dog. Even when this pandemic started, man, my wife
hide the mouthwash. Honey, hide the mouthwash.
But then I stayed there for 2 years, and it was so weird because right at the end of it, and I was in bad shape. I could barely walk. They had gave me three CAT scans. I was having real bad migraines that I couldn't see. And I thought I was going to die. You know, I mean, I remember sitting in the chapel. I used to go to the Rastafarians.
Yeah,
So I'd go to my
Ja, one love.
Yeah, one. So I'd go to my Shabbat on Friday, and then I'd bounce over into Rastafarians right afterwards, you know? That was my
Shabbat and then the Rastafarians.
Yeah, man, it was I'd have my little yarmulke on, and then I'd go over to the Rastafarians. But I remember one evening, man, I was in I could barely breathe. I wasn't able to walk real well. My head felt like it was going to blow up. The federal health system was shit. That's why I trip out on people that they trust it now. You know, prison's the micro or the macro. Whatever they do in the feds, they're going to do to the society. Like to take. That's what they do, man. There is no getting back with them. And the healthcare was the fucking worst, man. I almost died.
Man, you telling?
Yeah. And I went through it hardcore though, man. Like I had to beg, plead, and they had a book wrote about me. I had the publishing company reach out to the prison, like all kinds of shit, man. And finally, when it was so weird timing, right? When my son got sentenced, they sent him to Forest City, Arkansas. And literally like 3 days later, they called me and said, you're on the bus going there. Wow. And they transferred me to my boy. And it was so funny. My boy was actually in the hole when I got there. Bullshit. You know, I think some of the white dudes, the wood pile was kind of, kind of having him hold tobacco for them and shit.
Yeah.
And I pour them cats out pound, man. When I found out, when I got there, they had just let my son out that morning of the hole. I'll never forget it, man. I walked, you know how you've been through the whole transfer, you're tired, you want to get to your bunk.
Hell yeah.
I walk in, you know how it is, man. Cats approach you, man, who you are, blah, 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 blah. And the first thing that came out my mouth, hey, man, my son's here. Does anyone know who he is? He's a little 18-year-old. You can't miss him. And the big boy said, damn, dog, your son's here. He's in the TV room right now.
Damn.
I'm like, what? He's in this right here. He's like, yeah.
That's crazy.
There. I literally dropped my shit, dog. I went into this TV room, and there was my little boy, man, just sitting there.
Yeah,
and
man.
The whole fucking TV room was quiet, man. Not a fucking peep, man. Every man in there. And here I am, tears, man, coming down in prison. You know, you don't cry in prison in front of people. Right. But and there was no way of holding it. And then you seen other men feeling it, missing their son.
Right.
And my
related to that experience. That's right.
Yeah. And my little boy, man, he got up and he ran to me and he held me, man. And
damn, bro.
It was a fucking moment, man, for real, Yeah, but
definitely, brother.
But man, damn, next 2.5 years, my dog, man. I went right to that wood pile. So let me tell you, motherfuckers, the first person that gives my son shit, get ready for a war in this bitch, man.
That's right.
Of course, man, everybody back the fuck down,
Hell yeah.
But, me and him became friends, man. And even, I'll tell you a really cool prison story, because you know how they have like the prison rock and roll and rap concerts for the thing. True story, man. My son loves to rap. He's really good at it. And they showed an American Greed show. They did an American Greed on me. And me and my son are watching the American Greed in the TV room. Real weird situation. You know what I'm saying? Watching TV, right? But they played one of his songs on the American Greed. And so like all the brothers started coming to him. The young brothers, man, were like, hey, man, you rap, why don't you rap with us at the concert? You know how it's real racially segregated in prison, man. He came to me. He started going down there to the music room. He started like, jamming with them. And he said some of the cats, some of the white dudes were kind of giving funny looks, like, what they do, man. You know what they do. I know
what it is.
So right away, he comes back to the cell one day all upset, man. He's like, Dad, I don't want to, man, I don't want to do this. I'm like, why, man? He said, man, these cats were like talking crazy to me. And I said, who were they? He said, man, I don't want you to get jammed up. I said, man, don't worry about me. Who the fuck were they? I said, let me, son, you do what you need to do, man. And if you want to get up there and rock that motherfucking mic, then you get up.
That's right. Rock that motherfucking mic, man.
I said, rock it. And let me tell you something. I got pictures, man. My boy got up there. The whole fucking farm, everyone, white, Mexican, black, wanted to come out and see that little white dude get up there and rock it. And let me tell you,
those bars, man, for real.
let me tell you something,
Is
bro.
your son still down or is he out?
Nah, he been out 7 years, man. He got out 3 months after me. You know, he was in the drug program. It's kind of fucked up. And I understand why they did it, but me and him went in together. We literally, our release date was like 3 days apart, right?
Did he go in for counterfeiting as well, Art?
Yeah, $20 bills, his little ass.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, I think that was in the book.
But anyway, so short story, our release date was like 3 days apart. So, and I think mine was first. Well, when we did the program, they took 3 months from him and they made him start the program. I would get out 3 months before him.
Oh, right.
Yes, man, I damn near quit the class. I said, you know, it's some bitches, you ain't gonna play with me and my son. I'm not leaving him here, man. Fuck
right.
you.
Yeah, but you know, you can't be too crazy with them because they try to deny you everything. You know what I mean?
And that is, I got crazy too, though. They almost denied me. My son was actually the one who calmed me down. He was like, go home. I'm all right, man. I'm established. Everybody knows I'm. And he had grown. He had been boxing. He had been working out. He
bulked up. Yeah, he bulked up. Yeah, no doubt.
Was no little boy no more. He's like, Dad, I'm cool, man. You can go. And I'll never forget it, man. That day that I was released, man. He got up with me. We went to one of the back rooms, man. And I'm like, man, I'm going home, man. He said, I know. And I'm happy for you, Pops. Just get ready. You know, I'm gonna be there soon, man. You know, I'm gonna
tearjerker stories, Art, man.
It was fucked up, dude, you know, but he's doing good now, man. He's been out 7 years. He's just about to buy him a house. He drives.
He's still in Chicago. He's down in LA with you.
Tell him to put some lyrics down. We'll get him in this.
We'll get him connected.
Sure.
Oh yeah, no, I make songs with them. Me and him, man. I'll go into.
No, trust me. I don't want you though. I'm putting some lyrics in too.
We want your son.
Yeah, I'm crazy as hell. I get in there with them, man. We'll be smoking. I get on there, Mike, and talk.
So before we close out, I have one last question.
Yeah.
To add on. So first thing I want to do is a plug of Art's book. If you haven't read it, The Art of Making Money, please read this book.
Who's the author, D?
The author is Art and Jason Kirsten.
Jason Kirsten, yeah.
Yeah, This is The Art of Making Money. It's about his story, very detailed, very intriguing and compelling. I recommend it. I read it about 11 years ago in the Feds myself.
I gotta bring that book. I gotta sign it for you when you get out here.
Definitely, my brother. Listen, so my question for you is about the book a little. So Pete Da Vinci.
Yeah.
Pete Da Vinci, the infamous character who you don't fully name that brought you into the world of counterfeiting. You have an amazing relationship with him, obviously, because you named your gallery Da Vinci Gallery and your son's name Da Vinci. Yeah. Did you ever reconnect with him? I know you disappeared or something like that. Did you ever reconnect with him?
Nah, man. Nah.
That's fucking amazing. He's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars to me, in the book.
And he is to me too. You know, I had thought one day that when like all this shit happened, like the movie and the book, like he'd reach out to me. You know, like I had always thought like that might happen. You know, it's yet to happen yet. You know.
Have you ever revealed who he was to anybody?
No.
Okay, just curious. I know you call him Pete.
You know, my thing is like this, man. Like even when I went down, you know how the Feds is. They want names, you know.
Oh, right, of course, right.
Yeah, you know, you just gotta zip that motherfucker and keep it moving, you know. And so, like even in that book, all those names are changed and shit, man. I really protected my people, man. You know,
right, no doubt.
And I didn't put anything. Hell, I even kind of moved stories around just so you couldn't even kind of really like, you know, put it together. Because
no doubt.
Man, I love my streets, man. I still love my streets are still my streets, you know. So I protect them, you know. And
that's real, brother. That's real, man.
Dude, man, he was a hell of a dude, you know. I was really tripped. This is what's weird though, man. So here I'm a 15-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, and I'm sitting here learning, watching this dude teaching me some shit that like
hold on real quick. He taught you, he said he wanted to teach you this to help you.
Oh yeah, most def, man.
That was why he taught you the counterfeiting, to help you.
Yeah, because I was an animal, man.
You just had a baby with Karen, your girlfriend.
Yeah. So you know things were crazy, but what's interesting to me though, and I didn't plan this. There's no way I could. I was this kid, like he used to paint. you know, like he liked to paint, you know, nobody knew, right? That was his thing.
Right.
And I to myself, like, damn, how would he have known, man, 20 years later, 25 years later, that I would start painting?
Right.
Like, how the fuck would he know that? You know what I'm saying? Like, but maybe it's in the blood, man. I don't know, man. Maybe that's a part of it, right? Because I've read other counterfeiters that were painters too, that were artists, you know?
Right.
So I don't know, man, but I remember some really good things that he taught me, man, you know? And like I said, the old gangsters, man, they really had a lot of knowledge, man. You know, that's the problem with these today, man. They ain't getting nothing passed down to them. You know, they all the heads, you know? So
Arthur, I don't want to interrupt you, but you sort of had the perfect closing line. You said, you know, it's all for you, it's all about art.
it's
And
all
you know, when it was counterfeiting, it was art, and certainly now it's art. And there's an artfulness to your life and an elegance to your life.
Artorias.
And a lot of people who left comments talked about, you know, how much they admired how you sort of turned around the past and made it into, you know, something special. So, you know, you have all of our respect. We got to wrap it up. Another great episode on the yard. If nothing else, people who go to prison make fucking great podcast guests.
If nothing else.
Nothing else. Once again, Divine brought out the book, But the Art of Making Money, The Story of a Master Counterfeiter by Jason Kirsten. You can get it on Amazon or anywhere else. And it's a great read. And if you're in LA, definitely come by and check out Author's Gallery. It's double cool. Next week, we're pretty sure that we're going to have another great guest, Freddie Gibbs, as I mentioned, who's one of the hottest hip hop stars in the business right now. And that's something you're not going to want to miss. If you or someone you know think you'd be or that person would be a great guest on the yard, we'd love to know about it. Please contact Adrian at adrian@commissary.club. That's her email address. The only qualification is that you or the person you're suggesting has actually done time. As I mentioned earlier, we have now, for both Android and iOS, we have our mobile app, Commissary Club, and we're very, very excited. We're excited because we think it's going to really help us fulfill our mission to connect, you know, our brothers and sisters who've got records. You know, from the moment people come out of jail or prison, the system works to keep them separated. And as a result, people sort of lead these very solitary, lonely, sometimes desperate lives, bereft of connection. And our goal is to connect them. And we think if we can connect them, if we can connect all of us, we can help each other and perhaps come together and speak with one voice and wield our considerable, you know, power. 70 million people, we could elect any president we want, and companies should be marketing directly to us and providing us the goods and services that serve us rather than acting in a predatory fashion. And we are, you know, we work very, very hard to get folks jobs, because every minute they're on the street without a job, they're at risk. And as far as I'm concerned, that shit just doesn't work on my watch. So we work to get people jobs. We're a for-profit company. So we want to make money and we want to do massive social good. They call that double bottom line. If you dig that sort of approach, and you want to be part, and you want to invest, go to republic.co/commissary.club. We have a crowdfund campaign that's going on. If you know anything about me, you know that I always make my partners money. And I do believe that that's how this deal will go down as well. If you know people who might enjoy stopping by the yard, please do let them know about this and invite them, because your friends are our friends. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I can speak easily for Seth and Divine, and I dare say for Arthur as well. You know, we're humbled to have a chance to serve the folks that we do. Some of them truly are nothing short of being heroes. And at the end of the day, who among us hasn't made a mistake? You know, who among us hasn't asked for a second chance? So we want to connect people and celebrate our humanity, not our immorality or the worst things that we've ever done. So thank you once again for joining us on the yard. Be safe, come back next week, and everybody have a wonderful evening and a great long weekend. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys. You gotta be good, man.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Talk soon. Look forward to working with you, man.